tonight, no backpacks, no coolers, and metal detectors. The very different feeling about this year's 4th of July celebration at the Esplanade, plus an inside look at Bristol County's most famous inmate, and where you can go to see some big art right out in the open. Now on Greater Boston. Good evening. I'm Marjorie Egan, in for Emily Rooney. For better or worse, this year's 4th of July celebration in Boston will be remembered for changes resulting from the marathon tragedy last April. There'll be more security, additional restrictions, a decidedly poignant theme. It's a summertime tradition dating back 4 decades, but this year's Boston Pops Fireworks Spectacular will feel very different than years past. It will be the first time since the marathon bombings that hundreds of thousands of people will gather in Boston, and they will be subject to new, strict security measures.
We've worked with state police and other agencies to make sure that public safety is at the front of this event. And this year we just ramped that up.
Backpacks and coolers on wheels are no longer allowed, and everything you do bring must be in clear plastic bags. Everyone watching, from the hat shell to the playground near Clarendon Street, will have to pass through one of 2 metal detectors. And the security checks do not end there.
You should be willing to have your bags searched, whether you're on this side of the property or on the Cambridge side.
There are more surveillance cameras this year, and hundreds of officers will patrol on foot and by boat to enforce the new regulations on those watching from the river as well.
Nobody is allowed to go to either shore, the Boston side or the Cambridge side. You need to stay 100 feet from shore at all times and 1,000 feet from the barge.
And even if you don't attend the fireworks, the security measures could impact you. The Longfellow Bridge will be closed inbound from Cambridge to Boston, and the Mass Ave Bridge will be completely closed. Instead, that area will be reserved for additional pyrotechnics.
They call them stage effects, so they're a much smaller pop off of the Mass Ave Bridge. And that decision was made after we chose to close it for security reasons.
It's too early to say whether these security changes will be the new standard for the 4th of July, but the planning for next year's fireworks spectacular will begin almost immediately after this one ends. And with me now are Jack Murray, Commissioner of the Department of Conservation and Recreation, along with Colonel Timothy Albin of the Massachusetts State Police. Thank you both for being with us tonight. I just wondered, do either of you gentlemen have family or friends that are going to be down on the Esplanade this year, or even on the Cambridge side watching the fireworks? How about you, Colonel?
Yes, and this is going to be the first year. I've been there for about the last 10 years, but this will be the first year that my family is actually going to come and enjoy the fireworks. Really?
Now, why are you bringing them this year?
Well, we had planned to do it, before anything occurred out of the ordinary. And it was just an opportunity, to bring everybody together and come down here and enjoy the festivities. So that
makes me feel good that a state police colonel is having his family there. How about you, Commissioner?
Yeah, no, my wife and my niece and nephews have enjoyed the festivities in the past and plan to again this year.
So you're pretty confident about the situation down there?
Well, a lot of planning and effort has gone into the new security paradigm for this year's event.
Yep.
We at DCR are very pleased once again this year to be hosting the festivities, the celebration, America's celebration here on the Esplanade. This is the 103rd year, actually, and our 4th year in partnership with B4, the production company that has brought Keith Lockhart and the Pops to the Esplanade each year.
Well, let's talk about what the rules are in just a second. Particularly, I want to know, well, actually, you can tell me this right now, the clear plastic bags. Now, lots of us know about the clear plastic bags from the airport, but you're going to have a pretty big clear plastic bag to get in all the, if you can't have a backpack, to get in all the equipment. Do you go buy trash bags that are clear at Home Depot, or what are you supposed to do for a clear plastic bag to carry all your paraphernalia?
No, you make a good point, and I think people are going to need to be resourceful to try and get out to their supermarket or wherever to try and find clear bags. Hardware stores will carry them. Home Depot may have them. But we want to make sure that the check-through at the gates are as open and efficient as possible, and that's why we're asking people to bring their items in clear bags.
Well, Colonel, one of the things I learned today is there's only going to be 2 checkpoints coming into the Esplanade itself, and people should know that the area that's going to be, the area we think of as the Esplanade is right in front of the hat shell, right?
That's what we call the oval, but the actual area expanded this year, the security area, if you will.
So how big is the area that people are going to have to be checked into?
Right. So it'll include the oval, which is actually expanded because of some construction that was done there. There's a small children's playground that the oval now encompasses that. But we're also providing security perimeter for the what we call the lagoon area, which is the area on the other side of the water where we have the 3 footbridges that go over there. So there'll be checkpoints to get into that area as well.
So how many checkpoints are there going to be?
Well, the specific number I don't have with me today. There'll obviously be one out the main entrance to get in there, and then that'll be for there'll be one for the oval area, and then there'll be additional checkpoints for the lagoon.
So people will have to plan to get there way in advance. If this is like taking an overseas flight now to get into the Esplanade and the oval area and the lagoon area, you're talking what? 2 or 3 hours earlier than you might otherwise go?
We're asking people to arrive early. We're asking people to be patient. The checkpoints will not be adding any more level of security than you might see at a Red Sox game or a Bruins game or a Patriots game for that matter. Checkpoints will be behind the hatch, and then we'll have checkpoints at the Dartmouth Street and Exeter Street, Fairfield Street entrances.
Okay. And, you know, you guys are going to do a fine line between making it look like an armed camp and making it look like fun. I mean, there was a quote in one of the stories I read today where someone said they found it ironic that this is the way we celebrate our independence, by having, you know, no backpacks, clear plastic bags, all these regulations, no coolers with the wheels, et cetera, et cetera. There is a certain irony there, Colonel, isn't it? Remember the phrase after 9/11, are we letting the terrorists win?
Right. But I think it's fair to say, you know, we've seen these changes implemented in major sports arenas, especially the NFL. Major League Baseball has done this. Those are actually easier areas to secure because you've got established portals. It's these large open air celebrations, if you will, that are problematic, at least for security purposes. I mean, to the question of, you know, are we creating armed encampments, I don't think we're doing that, but I think the public also has an expectation that if they go somewhere with their family that they're going to be safe. We're not there to, you know, impede upon the celebration, but at the same time, we've got a responsibility to make sure that everybody's safe in going there. I mean, it's a different world we live in today.
Well, you both, with your family's going to be there, you both obviously feel pretty confident that it is going to be fine.
A lot of planning has gone into this event. You know, just after the bombings in April, our 2 agencies began almost immediately working together in anticipation of the 4th celebration. There are a lot of federal and state agencies, city, municipal agencies, Boston, Cambridge involved in these planning scenarios. So we feel pretty good.
We do. And I think the other thing I would want to add, too, is that this is a partnership, too, with the public. And there's a responsibility upon the attendees, if you will, you know, to be observant and to be vigilant. And we're not the adversary there. I mean, once you're inside that Esplanade, you're there to have a good time. Yeah. But we want people to pay attention to what's going on around them. And I think that's the message, I think, for 2013 and beyond is we're doing this together.
I understand, though, there's a lot less security on the Cambridge side, correct?
Well, there's considerably more security than there has been in past years.
Okay.
But it'll be configured somewhat differently than what you see on the Boston side.
Okay. And, Commissioner, there's going to be a lot of undercover people, that plainclothes officers sneaking around that we don't know who they are.
Well, I
guess you shouldn't be smoking pot on the Esplanade.
I'll defer to the Colonel on that. The only thing I will say is that we've had great cooperation from the federal, state, and local agencies, security agencies in this effort.
You know, one last thing, too, about the security regulations. It's different for the boats, too, right? They can't have the little dinghies come in and drop people off anymore.
That's exactly right.
So they've got to stay out there in the middle of the harbor.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly right. And you know, that's another level of the security that we've implemented. You know what it looks like down there with the amount of boats that are out there. And it's easy to sort of keep an eye on the larger boats, but it's the kayaks, the blow-up boats, the styrofoam dinghies, and so forth that you know, present some level of concern as well.
Yeah, we saw the pictures right there of the nice little peaceful waterways there that will be overrun by people in just a couple of days. So this is the future of the 4th of July going forward after 9/11, after the marathon. There's going to be we can expect to have this heightened security going forward from now on.
Well,
I
think, after the marathon, there were changes made at the Kentucky Derby. There were changes made at the Indianapolis 500. The NFL has upgraded their security. I think any kind of large gathering for any particular reason outdoors is going to be configured differently because of this.
Where will you guys be for the fireworks celebration?
I'll be there in the middle of it.
Okay. You too?
Yeah, I think there are a couple different locations in and around the hatch, and there's a unified command center that will be operating as well.
Did it bring you down a couple of hot dogs and cheeseburgers? Do you get a break to have a little bite to eat in the middle?
Just lots of coffee.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you both very much for being with us here, and I hope you have a great and relaxed and peaceful 4th of July.
Well, 5th of July we will, but the 4th, I don't know how peaceful and relaxed
Okay, 5th of July then, 5th of July. For additional information on security details and what you can and cannot bring to the Esplanade this 4th of July, you can get a complete list on our website at wgbhnews.org.